Hello there, and welcome along to the Really Connect webinar on is LinkedIn a productivity tool or a time waster? It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, and I've got my co-host Naomi. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thanks. And we've got a big group of listeners. We've been oversubscribed with this webinar series. We've had over 300 people register. There's still people still joining as it's a six webinar series. So there's lots of really great stuff to cover here, folks. So I'm not going to waste too much time in the beginning covering things. I'll give you a little bit of background on us, so then we can get into what's going to be covered during the session. So my name is Michael Clark. I'm the co-founder of Really Connect, and I'm here with Naomi Johnson, who's our senior trainer in Really Connect. So a bit of the agenda today, what we're going to cover is that we are going to look a bit about who is Really Connect and what makes us qualified to stand here and talk about all these great things about LinkedIn. We're then going to be looking at some of the goals and objectives from this webinar and the webinar series as a whole. And then we'll be focusing on the three main topics of why use LinkedIn. What's the purpose? Why do you want to be on this platform in the first instance, considering your days are busy enough already? The second thing we'll be looking at is LinkedIn a time suck or is it actually a productivity tool? So we'll be discussing that and assessing why sometimes people waste time with it, but also what the people who are getting great results are actually doing with their LinkedIn activity. Then we'll be looking at Get Social. We're talking about social selling, social recruiting, social fundraising. These are hot topics that are coming up, and we'll be relating that too, because you only want to get to that stage if you actually understand why you're on this platform and what it can actually do for you in the first place. So that's a bit about what we'll be covering. Quick background on us. Our company was the world's first certified LinkedIn training company back in 2010. We have worked with over 450 corporate organizations, as you can see some household names here on the slide, as well as thousands of small business owners. And essentially what we've done is we've helped businesses use LinkedIn in a commercial way. Our strategies in the last 12 months have put over £4.3 million worth of new business opportunity into our clients' pipelines. And our book, which I'll share with you in just a moment, is actually given to every single LinkedIn employee at LinkedIn's EMEA headquarters in Dublin. It's part of the onboarding process, and we're often brought in to train LinkedIn itself. So what it means is that we know what we're talking about when it comes to LinkedIn. We've worked with, as I said, this is my smiling face on the screen, as you can see at the moment. And really what I'm passionate about is showing people how to use LinkedIn as a tool to achieve commercial results, objective results, and to make your life and your business life particularly more effective and more productive. This is my business partner here, Bert Verdonk. You can see the raft of books that he has personally written and been involved in writing with. The one in the middle, How to Really Use LinkedIn, is the book that's given to every LinkedIn employee. And the book just to the right of that is LinkedIn Dummies course. Or book, I should say, which has just recently been released. Our book, interestingly enough, is published in 5 different languages. And Bert himself has been, is our senior trainer. We have 8 to 10 trainers here in LinkedIn at the moment who can speak 8 different languages. So Bert is the one that heads it up and creates all the strategies on the training side. And it's a pleasure to be welcoming today as well Naomi Johnson, who's been with our team now for just under a year. And Naomi has been, really since she's joined us, she's been consulting with people as they come into the company and into contact with us. And what she does is she looks at their profiles, she gives them feedback, she asks them and finds out about their LinkedIn strategy. Why are they on LinkedIn? What are they aiming to get out of it? And so she's really been a big part of the reason why we've put this webinar series together, because Naomi has been listening to what people such as yourself have been saying, understanding what are the challenges you've got when it comes to LinkedIn, what are some of the fears and concerns, as well as what are some of the things you want to get out of LinkedIn and you'd like it to be doing more for you. So Naomi's got a wealth of experience when it comes to that. And she's been a sales and marketing specialist for the last 8 years, and she's the author of a great book which is called Grassroots to Green Shoots. So that's a little bit about us and the team, but you didn't come here to learn about this. You've come here to learn about LinkedIn and what it can do for you. So let's get on to the goals and objectives of this series. And I would say, I'm sure you'd agree with me, Naomi, that part of the goal of this series is really to educate people. No matter what level you're at, there is always a next step. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just about getting started somewhere and understanding what it is you're doing and why you're doing it.
Absolutely. And I'd say that what we've been doing is we've been looking at going back through all the thousands of clients we've had over the last few years And we've been looking at what is the journey that someone would need to take from beginning right through to being an all-star expert on LinkedIn. So the content that's going to be delivered during this session in particular is more for people at the beginning stages of LinkedIn, or maybe they've been on LinkedIn for a while, but as a result of being on LinkedIn, they're not too sure about what they're doing on there, and they're not too sure why they're on there in the first place.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be looking at from beginning right through to all-star levels of your progression path.
So each one's going to touch on a level or an interest, and then just getting more and more in depth as we go. But just really opening it up to what is possible here. What are we talking about in terms of what LinkedIn really can do for your business?
Yep, absolutely. So here's a few of the topics that we're going to be covering over the course of this series. I'm not going to read through all those now. You can see them on the screen, but there's some great topics that we'll be covering over the course of the next few weeks together. So stay tuned for them, and just know that we'll be, we'll really be taking you on a development path sequentially. What is the natural order that you should follow? Okay, so anyways, let's get into it, guys. I'm really looking forward to it. So first question is, I have for you, Naomi, why should people be using LinkedIn?
It's a great question, because people who are in business, they're busy, right? They've got so much that they're doing, so much that they've got to manage in the business, not just new sales, new business, or new recruits, but also all the admin stuff as well. And it can feel like just another task, another thing that's added on top. And there's this social pressure to be part of it. So it's always like, yep, I'm on LinkedIn because I need to have a presence, but actually they're not doing anything with it, and they have no idea what to do with it. And added to that, the presence they have isn't actually showing them off the best. It's maybe not up to date.
It's sometimes dated, isn't it?
It's really reflecting badly on them, actually, for a personal brand point of view. So that's why it's really important to keep it up to date. It's just one thing, but that could feel like just pressure. I've got all this stuff to do.
It's another thing to add to the long list of things to do already.
Exactly. So what I want to do right now is just really bring this into context and explain just where it fits in. Because once you see where it fits in, you'll actually see that it will bring you dividends in terms of new income into the business and saving you time. So,
or new candidates if you're a recruiter, or etc.
Yeah, or new fundraising if you're a charity. So the question I would ask you is looking at your business, where should you be allocating time? It's the biggest issue. Like, how do you put your time? How much time should you put into one activity compared to another activity? And which ones are actually going to pay the bills? Because ultimately, what we're looking to do is make sure there's at least enough revenue to pay the bills at the end of the month. But more so, we want to make a profit.
Absolutely.
And a lot of companies, they have shareholders, stakeholders. They're saying increase profits. We want more money coming out of our investment.
Yep.
So when you really delve down to the crux of what we're doing here, it's all about making more money.
More money. Yeah, I'd say more money, and also for me, it's about saving time.
We want more time with family and friends.
Absolutely, and more time to just the days of cold calling, for example. Now the numbers are with cold calling. That's if you have 90. There's studies out by IBM that's like cold calling is ineffective 97% of the time. Exactly. So you spend a whole day trying to find 3 people, get in touch with 3 people, and it's unlikely that they're all going to say yes to you. So that's a lot of time invested to get a certain result. What if you could do the same, achieve the same outcome in 1 hour?
Yeah, exactly. And what I have heard as well is people that are keeping with those strategies and making the cold calls, they're actually getting far less results. And also the turnover of staff is so much more. Because the people are just like, no, there's a better way.
Exactly right.
And I've spoken to people who are saying, actually, we are not updating, and I'm probably going to have to leave this job because I can't afford in my career not to get on top of this stuff.
Yeah, interesting.
And and the time saver is right there. So what I would just ask you to look at with everything is just look at what is it, whatever activity I'm doing, is it going to take me closer to or further away from the outcome I want to achieve? If you're in business, that's creating new sales. If you're in recruitment, that's finding new employees. If you're in charity, it's raising money.
Absolutely.
And I would say that pretty much every job in the organisation does come back down to this. Even if you're the cleaner, you're there to clean up so people can make more money, right? Just to keep everybody's wages and keep the business going. So what I'd like to do now is just bring you down to...
the practicalities, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like why use it? So if we're going to achieve our outcome, we know that there's a sales funnel. That if you want to achieve... stay on the sales side for a minute. If you want to achieve 1 new sale, previously it was like you had to find 20 possible prospects and phone them until you got appointments, and you might get a 50% conversion rate if you really have good prospects. 50% conversion rate. So you get down to 10 appointments. Of those 10 appointments, you have good conversations with them, and maybe if you're really good at that, 5 go into proposal or purchase. And from those 5 proposals you put out, maybe 1 you contract that month, maybe another one another month. There's different times for these things. But generally, what you see on the screen there, that's actually good statistics of 50% conversion. It doesn't normally happen that way. And in recruitment, you might look at 30 resumes to find 10 people you think are good and you want to interview. 3 people might come in for second interview and you make 1 new hire.
And of course, these numbers, please, if you're looking at these and go, they're not my numbers. I mean, it's just a rough estimate.
Yeah.
Every industry is going to be different and everything, but it's the point we're highlighting that these are some realistic numbers to some degree. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and if you are somebody who's not perhaps focusing on these numbers, it's good to focus on them, because when you look at the input you put in to get the output, you suddenly understand your business. You suddenly understand how to spend your time. So, if I want to create 1 new big sale this month, I have to go and find 20 new prospects. The only question you have to ask is, where do I find my 20 prospects from, and what quality do they have to be?
Absolutely.
So it kind of really focuses you down into your actions. And just one thing about LinkedIn and what it can do is, I've just put there, let's improve the quality of these numbers. What if you didn't have to look at 30 resumes or 20 prospects to actually find that 1 new contract? What if you got referred in to exactly the person you needed, who was the ideal candidate? Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, like attracts like. My friends are very much like me. Your friends are very much like you. So if you wanted to find another one of me, or you say, Naomi, who do you know? And I would open up my network and say, here's someone who would be a great employee for you because they're like me.
Yep.
But I would also know other companies like me too. So those referrals, sometimes they are so powerful because they are spot on for what you want. And also you're able to take the trust that you've created with that one relationship into the new relationship, meaning it's so much more advanced that they're really happy to work with you, and they're not likely to look at their competitor. So that is why LinkedIn really improves the numbers game, but it also focuses you on the numbers to make sure, and it gives you the ability to find the number of people you
Absolutely.
need.
And that's what it is for me, is that the one thing that makes LinkedIn so powerful is that it essentially shows you how you're connected to other people. When you start doing advanced searches and things of that nature, there's no other platform out there that'll tell you, if you find someone, how you're connected to them, and then you can actually reach out to them.
Yeah.
So it's a phenomenally powerful platform which allows you to do that. And so getting back to your point of trying to find like-minded people, whether it's clients or candidates, then you're able to use LinkedIn in that way. And that's the thing that makes it so powerful.
Yeah,
so,
and that's the interesting thing, because it is so powerful, and yet you're looking at that. They might do an advanced search and produce all this list of people that you could be, it says who you're connected to. But it's like, you sit there and it's like, I don't know what to do. My boss wants me to use LinkedIn, but I have absolutely no idea what to do with those results. And also you don't know why you want to do that with those results. So to summarize, the reasons why we would use LinkedIn is that it saves you time. With producing results, you don't have to go out and buy a list anymore. The list is up to date continuously, and if somebody actually changes jobs and then they therefore qualify for the advanced search you've previously done, maybe a week or a couple of months before, they will actually go into your search results, and LinkedIn will send you an email and say, hey, there's a new lead here for you, somebody who's now qualified. And also all the information's up to date. So you're literally seriously improving your efficiency. You're lead generating for no money up front.
Yep.
You're able to develop trust in those relationships if you get your passive and proactive and active strategies correct on LinkedIn. And
just on that note, we always look at LinkedIn in terms of passive, active, and proactive. Passive is getting your profile in order, making sure you've got a rich quality profile, which ensures that you get found more frequently, and it means that when people find you, they're actually really engaged with what you have to communicate. Active strategy is about building your profiles, making sure that you're connected with all the people that you've done business with and have a great relationship with. And proactive is focusing on the longer term strategies that are not only longer term, but they're
reaching out to people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's being proactive with using the tool to find the right people you can connect and engage with.
Yeah, definitely. And so therefore you can really take the trust with you if you get all those things right. We all know the power of word of mouth recommendations.
Absolutely.
And being able to take that introduction just makes it so much easier to talk to people. They're much more open with you. Then you get past all that skepticism they have.
Yep.
So you're having better quality appointments quicker than you have before, with more trust involved. So ultimately you're saving time across the board, and you're saving money because the platform well, pretty much you can
saving you money and making you money.
Yeah, exactly. Saving and making in all areas. And we'll
Great.
go delve into that in some later webinars. So that basically is why I use LinkedIn. But you know, there's this big question out there, isn't there? Is LinkedIn a time suck or a productivity tool?
Good question.
It is, right?
It comes up a lot for us, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
So let's answer the question: is LinkedIn a time suck or a productivity tool?
I like this guy. So cute.
He's so cute. The question, the real thing is with this is it's a bit of both. To be honest with you, if you don't know how to use LinkedIn, you're going to waste time. You're going to say, oh, I'll allocate 30 minutes a day. You put the time aside and you sit there and you'll probably end up reading articles that are coming through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or you'll just be looking, like reconnecting with friends or just emailing. And then it just becomes like an email account, doesn't it?
Yep.
So it's not really worth the time. But it's when you actually delve into a lot of these strategies and you know what you're doing and you log in and you know exactly why you're in there and what you're doing, it really, really works. And I love the analogy of a car, Mike, because when we were young and we were not qualified to drive a car, if you wanted to get a sweetie, let's imagine your little boy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was really cute. And he was like, I really want a packet of crisps.
Yep.
And so you went off down the shops. You would have to walk there. You had no other opportunity.
Yep.
So you 10 minutes to the shops, get it, come back again, 10 minutes, 20 minutes for a packet of crisps. And then you got to the age where you could drive a car and you're like, I need some shopping. I'll upgrade you now. You need more than a packet of crisps. So now you think, I need to go to shops and get some lunch. So you would jump in the car. It takes you 2 minutes.
Yep.
You get out of the car, you get your food, you get back in 2 minutes, and you're back within 10 minutes. And also, it's not just the short journeys either. Now, if I said to you right now, this is an amazing opportunity in Scotland, would you like to go and get it? Yeah, my car's in the garage, let's go.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to go a lot further and achieve a lot more than you ever did before. So I would suggest that learning to drive a car was probably one of the biggest productivity skills that we have learnt that have completely changed our lives.
And if you don't drive, I mean,
a train.
Yeah,
a train or a
jumping
bus.
on a train or a bus is much quicker than walking as well.
Exactly. So we can be grateful to those people who've invented that technology. And to be honest with you, at the beginning, it was something that was really stressful. And I remember when I was younger, I could have driven the car. I'd have to ask my mum to sit next to me and drive me to the shops, and it was so stressful not knowing how to do it. I would just choose to walk. And I think a lot of people actually still do that. They look at LinkedIn and they're like, well, I hear what you're saying, I know what it can do for me, but I don't actually know what to do. It's now taking up my time.
It's the how.
So that's taking up more time. So do you know what, I'm just going to revert to what I do know. I'm going to go to what's
more
comfortable.
It's comfortable, and I understand that. I mean, because what we're talking about in this world of social media, it is a bit challenging to stay up to date with it, particularly when you listen to so many different people who are out there saying, oh, Facebook is the next thing, oh, Twitter is the next thing, oh, Google Plus is it, it's like, so unless you're really clear in terms of who your marketplace is and where they are, like I can see why it's overwhelming a lot of the time. So that's why for me, in terms of making LinkedIn a productivity tool, and if you're in that choice of saying which platform should I be on, you've got to be asking, where is your marketplace and what platform are they on? Focus on mastering that platform. That's my first step here.
And it's coming back to the initial question of what is it's going to get me to my objective fastest. I had a really great conversation with someone where they said, I have someone who said they can get me 500 followers on Twitter of all my target market. And I said, which would you prefer? 500 people that you have to keep feeding with content that may or may not be paying attention at any given time that you tweet, and they may or may not want an appointment, and they're not really feeling like they have a relationship with you because you're just pushing out some stuff and they're looking at it? Or what would you prefer, actually advancing that completely and having 10 appointments that I have found for you? Maybe I just come to you and I say, I've got 10 appointments, all of them are crying out for your solution. Which would you prefer? Because I'd like that solution. And that is what LinkedIn can do for you. It's really jumping down to what is going to get me an appointment with a prospect the quickest way. And a lot of the times, being these other things of just pushing out messages isn't it. It's actually picking up the phone and speaking to someone and saying, will you have an appointment with me?
And this is just sort of a quick snapshot of some of the things that when you get this right, when you overcome the fears and concerns and you get clear that LinkedIn is the platform, if it is the right platform for you, I'm not saying it is, but if you are selling B2B, I'd have a strong guess that it is. Once you're in that space, then these are some of the things that LinkedIn can do. It can generate a list of highly targeted leads, as we've mentioned. You can keep you up to date with contact information of your leads. So there's ways to maintain relationship. Take notes on your contacts inside the platform so nothing gets lost. You can, you can get background information on a lot of your research on your marketplace as well. You can share messages consistently. You can stay front of mind in very light touch ways to keep yourself on the radar in this social selling world we're in. That's what it's about, keeping yourself front of mind and not just pestering them with phone calls all the time. And also keeping your prospects fully up to date with your activity. Start releasing content and get people to follow you, because what you share and your insights and your take on the marketplace is valuable. And when you get this right, you can position yourself in that way. And this is a big one, which you've mentioned already, Naomi, is about leveraging the trust.
Yeah.
A lot of people have dormant trust in their networks.
They spent their whole career
Exactly.
building up. I'm a great person. I know what I'm
And
talking
people
about. I'm
love-
reliable.
People know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And
you can have a 30-year career. That's 30 years of trust. That is the asset you are sitting on.
absolutely. And it's so much sitting there. And what we do a lot of the times, we show people how to activate that trust. And simply by just activating that trust, getting back in touch with people, what happens is you reignite that trust that was dormant, and all of a sudden you get new conversations, new
Yeah.
opportunities straight away from doing very little effort.
Yeah.
But anyways, here's a couple of things. You can join valuable discussions. You can establish yourself as a thought leader, and you can leverage the word of mouth recommendations. And as Naomi said, leverage the trust you've spent your whole entire career.
Yeah, and I'd like to just make a point about that one with leveraging the word of mouth recommendations. One of the biggest things I hear people say to me is, I don't need LinkedIn, I rely on word of mouth recommendations. And it just makes me laugh, because if you understand what LinkedIn's actually about, it is about word of mouth recommendations.
Yeah.
Previously, we would have to wait for somebody to say, oh, you should speak to this person. And I won't go into now, but there are actually 7 things that could go wrong with word of mouth recommendation. So if you achieve one that works, you've probably lost the other 6. And so when you've got word of mouth recommendations, it means you've got trust in your network. Your business is very successful, and therefore it's a real credit to you. But when it comes to relying on it, that's where the ignorance is, because there's no need to rely on it when you can leverage this. You can literally mine that trust right out and make it work.
And from the social recruiting perspective as well, you can also leverage the trust that's in your network as well, and get them to leverage the trust that they have, and that's where you can start recruiting, effectively amongst your peers and your colleagues. So
Top talent.
great. So let's keep moving though.
Yeah, I mean, just some questions to ask as we just finish up this section. It's just the asking the question: what would it do for your business if you could instantly create a list of targeted leads at no cost? You didn't have to pay out for what was an old list with a name and an address, but now it's up to date and you've got the ability to get in contact with them and build a relationship with them. And that list also, what would it do for you if it actually updated itself and told you when new people qualified?
Absolutely.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? And you can actually do thorough research. So instead of picking up the phone and having to research by asking questions and the person's rude, they don't have the time, that you're intruding upon them. But now you can do the research and decide whether they are the right person or not.
Yep.
That's the right person in the organisation, or even if the organisation is right for you. You can do thorough research before you go any further, saving you huge time. And then, like you were saying earlier on about cold calls, you can actually get introduced to that person rather than making a cold call. You leverage the trust to actually get into the person you've identified, and then that prospect can look at your content, look at what you do, and learn about you without you even having to be present. And that's actually where we're going to delve in later on some really interesting things when we talk about profile. It's how you can engage with that prospect.
And yeah, exactly.
Really exciting stuff.
Exactly right. And so these are some of the things. If you can answer yes, if this would be interesting, well, this is what LinkedIn can do for you. All right. So getting back to, is LinkedIn a productivity tool or a time vampire?
Well, let's look at it from the other side.
Yeah.
Is it a time vampire? Oh my gosh, it can be. If you don't know how to use it, it will create stress and confusion. If you invest time in it but you don't know how, you will get no results from it. You won't see an increase in appointments. You probably see a decrease because you're not doing the other things you're supposed to be doing. It will negatively impact your results, therefore, and waste your time. And it could, if you're not keeping up to date with it, it could really hurt your brand image.
This is the thing that people don't realise often, is that how valuable are first impressions?
Hugely.
Hugely valuable. How long does it take to form a first impression? Seconds. So the question is, where are people's first impression of you taken these days?
And what do people naturally do when they hear of someone these days?
They go on, they type your name to
they
Google,
Google it.
and they Google. LinkedIn is so highly ranked in Google, so it pops up. Or they'll type your name into LinkedIn, and they'll find you straight away.
Yeah.
So depending on what they find, they're either impressed or disimpressed, if that's a word.
Yeah.
I think I just made one up. So, let's bring this. Let's bring this section to a wrap up then.
Yep.
What's the final thoughts on this in terms of is it a productivity tool or time?
It's
time
both.
vampire?
If you don't know how to use it properly, it won't produce you results worthy of the investment you're putting into it, and it can harm your brand. So it is really both. So I would just strongly recommend really learning how to use it, as I would.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and that is the honest truth as well. It really is. If you don't know how to use it, it will waste your time. If you do know how to use it, it'll be an amazing asset for you. So. Great. So this brings us on to our final topic, which is get social selling, social recruiting, and social fundraising. And how does this link to the previous things we were talking about, Naomi?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's an interesting one because one of the reasons why people are so nervous to go ahead and they also don't know how to go ahead is because they're not sure how to connect with people. They're not sure how to reach out and what to do. And social selling, social recruiting, social fundraising, I mean, they're the new terms that have just come up, but actually we understand both of those words, all of the words, but it's now why they sit together. And I think it's a really odd one as well, because the word social refers to our social lives and us as human beings interacting with each other.
Yep.
And also it refers to the social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those things are the social platforms. So the side of being social in life has transferred online, and we've seen with Facebook people getting very upset if you literally hit them over the head with your business message.
Yep.
You will get defriended. You will get... someone complained about it on Facebook the other day, got 100 comments.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big deal. And it's the equivalent of going to your cousin's wedding or your friend's party and just pulling out your products and doing a presentation right in the middle of the dining room, which has actually happened to me. She got told off. And so... There's a social etiquette and things you should and shouldn't be doing, and there's a way of building that relationship up. But then you've got the words social selling, and you've got social on one side, and you've got
selling on the other side.
Selling on the other side, and they are completely and utterly different. The relationship is so different. They are polar opposites to each other.
Yeah. But
actually, if I just bring you down to the other slide here. You've got it here, that the polar opposites: social selling, social recruiting, social fundraising. There's something in the middle. What do you reckon that would be in the middle? The polar opposites.
It would be about the relationship.
I'm glad you know that, Mike. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at you. Yeah, it's about relationship. It's knowing how to build up that relationship with people. And it's really important that we know how to do that, because what we found with the change in the way we now buy, in the last 25 years since the beginning of the internet, we've seen this massive behavioural shift. And Mike, I know you talk really great on this, so I don't know if you want to just say about what's going on.
Well, I think it's interesting. I find it fascinating, this topic of social selling and recruiting and fundraising, because really, if you think about what has occurred over the last 30 years or so, pre-internet, is that, you know, if you wanted to make a decision whether you wanted to recruit someone or you wanted to buy a product or so on, then what you would do is you would have to go out and speak to that individual. You would have to speak to the sales representative of that product or service, and you'd have to find out information from them. But what happened is then the internet came about. And as soon as the internet came about, all of a sudden the power shifted from the seller slightly to the buyer. So now the buyer has a bit more control, because they can actually... they can look at what is on offer, what other products and what other candidates are on offer before they actually reach out to someone. And then social media's come to the frame even further, another 10 years on, whereby now people, before they actually make a decision or buy a product or service or something, then they actually want to not only just look at other offers and other products and services, they want to find out what are other people saying about that product, service or candidate. And so now it's really just, it's the thing to really understand about this social world that we're in is that there's been behavioral shift of over 20 years now of people getting used to being online, searching for information, and now they're used to getting recommendations, or they're used to getting feedback from people about who have used that product or service, or feedback and recommendations from people who worked with that person. You know, and this is the thing, is that now 60% of the decision making process is already made before you speak with a prospect.
Yeah, and I
Which is
know
phenomenal.
it is phenomenal.
I just wanted to highlight here is, if you get this right and you position yourself and your products, services, and your organization as a talent recruitment process, if you get this right, it means that people can be searching for you 24/7 all the time.
But one thing I would just say about that 60% there is, I know that a lot of people ask, like, oh, where'd you get the figure from, which is IBM, and what does that really mean? It means that most of this buying decision is about researching and asking, and you're actually and asking about it, and that's actually the biggest part of the decision making process. So the final bit is asking the specifications and how does this actually relate to me in the final bits, but in the final bits of making that decision. So, you know, when it comes to being a recruiter or a sales rep, it actually does mean, Mike, that if 60% of it's already been taken care of, you now only have to do 40% of it. So now we've managed to get you a list of leads really, really quickly, and told you have to do 40% of what you used to have to do. So a massive time saving. It does mean, though, if you're going to get this right, that with that 60% of the sales cycle, you need to get it right, but you can also automate it. We've got examples of clients who've just done amazing things with the way that they have achieved that.
And just in terms of what we're looking at here, a big question is about what content do I create? Because that's really where it's at. You've got to be creating content, got to be creating information that your marketplace wants to know about, so that you can engage with them and you can connect with them. Likewise, think about this experience here. We're looking to connect and engage with people who have an interest in LinkedIn. So we're looking to share content and information about that, so you can get to know us, and hopefully you like what we do, and then you'll say, wow, that's interesting. If they have anything to offer, I might look at it. And likewise, you should be doing the same thing with your products and services. And if you're recruiting people, you need to be creating stuff about cultural values, videos and content about what it's like to work at your place.
And you've got a great example of that with the guy that we were speaking to, who's happy in his job and has absolutely no intention of moving.
I'd rather keep the names anonymous for specific reasons, but there's a particular guy in my network who I was talking to, who recently came up to me and when we were at having a few drinks, and I asked him, I said, so how did you actually end up working for this company? And he said, well, it's an interesting thing, because he said, you know, I was completely content and happy in my job where I was. But then he said that, you know, this particular recruiter approached me online through LinkedIn, and he said at first I was offended by this guy doing it, but he said the guy approached me quite nicely and was quite personalized, and he said, listen, if you're interested to know more, just watch this little video clip. He watched this little video clip, and then next thing you know, that one little video clip led to another video clip, and led to another video clip, and all of a sudden he couldn't stop watching these little clips, and there's so much information on him where he could learn about what it was like to work at this organization. And all of a sudden, he said, he went from being completely content inside 1 week to the end of that week saying, I have to work for this company. And that's an example of when you get it right. And I can share similar examples of what happens in a sales environment too, where you can switch people and you can help them make the decision. And this is the thing, if you position your business in the right way, you will start to be able to allow people to make decisions without you needing to be there, which is counterintuitive to what we're used to as sales and business people.
Yeah, brilliant. And it can happen for you 24/7.
Yep.
So that's why online really matters. But just one point I really will put in there. If you're not doing this and people are out there searching for your solution, your competitor who is doing it is going to get the business.
That's so true.
So you have to be doing something, basically.
Yeah,
otherwise
exactly. Because people are looking for it. That's reality. People are looking for you and your information. If they're not finding you, who are they going to find?
And if you are still getting business in, it could well be that you're taking 10 times longer or 60% longer to get one sale compared to your competitor who's now got a lean, mean business. So something to think about. So we just scroll right down to...
Excellent. So we've covered these points here. So this four final points before we wrap it up.
We've kind of talked about this, haven't we? About sharing different bits of content. You know, you were saying an example. This is exactly where it goes. It's just sharing with people a little bit of snippets of information that gets them interested, that adds value, really adds value, and adds content to them. So they start to know, like, and trust you. That you are qualified in what you talk about. You give quality stuff, and you've got a great reputation. You just keep dropping it out there and feeding it, and before you know, you'll turn around and you have this massive long line of people, not birds, people, following you.
But that's really what it is in this social world that we're in. It comes down to that. And please, if you take just one thing away from this part about social selling, etc., just understand the behavioural shift that has occurred. because that's the thing. If you start positioning your company and your offer around that, and so it's in line with now people want to find out information about who you are and what you do. If you just make that one shift and continue start to produce relevant, timely content that your marketplace finds useful, then that in itself will position you way above your competitors.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So, I hope you've really enjoyed this brief series, 3 points that we've covered today, which is, why should you be using LinkedIn? Hopefully it's quite clear now that it's a really productive use of time and will make you money, save you time, make you money, make you more effective and productive. Is LinkedIn a time suck or productivity tool? Well, as we said, it's a bit of both. If you don't know how to use it, it is going to waste your time. But if you do know how to use it, it will massively reduce the amount of time that you can produce, that you can save. And likewise, from the social world, know that it's about just positioning your products and services and your offers now in line with how people are making decisions, whether it's an employment decision or the purchase decision to buy a product or service. So make sure you position yourself around that. So if you've got some questions now, there's time to throw them through. We're going to cover them at the end. So Naomi will stick around and we'll be able to answer some of your questions.
Just want to just say in there as well about the social side. If you're unsure how to approach people and how to make sure you approach them correctly, there's so much in it. The next webinar we'll be doing the social look out for the social etiquette one. Because in there we're going to really cover a lot of the do's and don'ts. It's almost like getting in a car without a license. You can drive, but you might be a little bit less courteous to the drivers on the road and get a few knocks and scratches. So definitely check out that webinar.
It'd be very valuable. Yeah, great, excellent. And so one last thing I'd like to say is if you've enjoyed listening to this and so on, we have a whole range of programs that can help you, from social selling, social recruiting, they're public workshops. They start off at very basic levels. So if you're just starting out, right through to high level, advanced proactive strategies that we run. So they're incredibly valuable programs. As I said, the social selling program last year put £4.3 million worth of new business opportunity into our clients' pipelines. So, if you're interested, if you're a small business owner or you're a sales director or you're a head of recruitment for a HR department, I'd definitely recommend finding out more about one of those courses. We do also in-company training, so we go internally. We do a lot of consulting as well as training with, you saw the long list of clients that we work with, household blue chip names, over 450 corporate organizations. We're doing LinkedIn for charities, and we're so inspired about getting behind that. And we've got the £1 million LinkedIn Social Selling Challenge. So we actually guarantee that we can put £1 million of new opportunity into your pipeline. So here's some of the range of things that we can do for you if it's of interest. We're not here to promote market ourselves to say buy now, but if any of these are of interest to you, and if you are an entrepreneur or a recruiter or in sales, I'd suggest that you book in a 45-minute free accelerator session with Naomi. These are incredibly valuable sessions where she'll be able to look at your profile. She'll be getting under the bonnet of your strategy to develop leads and marketing and sales and recruitment. And she'll be looking to understand what are you aiming to achieve, and she'll give you some direct and honest feedback about it. And as well, if you're interested to know about the courses, she can answer questions about that too. So very valuable session, and I would suggest that that's the next step for you to take if you want to know more about any of the courses and or get some feedback on your profile and your strategy. Yeah. So that's all the w's.reallyconnect.com/accelerator. These are normally charged. We are offering it as a complimentary during this webinar series. So if you're interested, make sure you grab that. And I think that pretty much brings it to a close.
Yeah.
And only final thing is, if you want to join us on all the different platforms, we've got some great content being released regularly. And, stick around for some questions. We'll be able to answer those for you. And in the meantime, thank you for listening in, and we'll look forward to catching up with you next session.
Brilliant. Okay, so...
take care.